Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. 2 weeks ago, at Mondays at Beinecke, 2 weeks ago, Mondays at Beinecke hosted Roberta Doherty, the librarian for Middle East Studies and Near East Collection, and one of the co-curators of Taught by the Pen. Robin told us the history of collecting Islamic manuscript collections at Yale, from which the exhibition is drawn. Today, I would like to talk about the contents of the items in the exhibit. Islamic civilization, despite seeming like a homogeneous entity, is far from it. There has been an ongoing dialogue and exchange of ideas, themes, and artistic practices, not only between different Muslim societies, but also with other faiths and cultures as well. In this exhibit, we wanted to showcase the richness created by these intersectional points. It can be seen not only in the genre selections, such as art, literature, music, and material culture, but also in the diversity of languages, to emphasize that the Islamic world was broader than what is captured in Arabic language. I hope to highlight this diversity today, but of course, this diversity is much broader than what is exhibited. Most exhibitions focus on a specific theme, area, time period, or single collecting area. But Taught by the Pen features a wide range of materials from different periods, geographies, and languages. First of all, selections are chronologically broad, from a 9th century Egyptian papyrus in Arabic to examples of the continuation of manuscript culture in the early 20th century. On the left here is a 9th century letter by an anonymous sender who complains that the recipient never writes back. On the right is a collection of short works dated 1902. It includes a commentary on Al-Qasid al-Jaljalutiya, a poem considered to have magical and protective properties, and is often worn as a talisman. The collection of almost 150 items comes from many different parts of the world. Not all of the origins are known, but here are some of the ones that we do know. Clearly, it's a geographical diverse offering. You can see from Algeria, from Baghdad, Damascus, to even North Carolina here in the United States. Another way that we can see this diversity is through the languages. This is a multilingual exhibition. It is vast in its display of many different languages, and this provides a remarkable collection of scripts, including Coptic, Arabic, Armenian, Syriac, Hebrew, and Latin, to visualize the diverse writings. This ongoing dialogue between cultures was possible, of course, due to the help of lexicons. And the display of lexicons is one of the best ways to see how many languages this civilization has spanned. This manuscript here on the screen is a Turkish translation of the Arabic dictionary of Ismail ibn Hamad al-Jawhari from the beginning of the late 9th century, beginning of the 10th century, Taj al-Luga ve Sihah al-Arabiya, known, in short as al-Sihah. One Kulu, you can see the name, One Kulu Mehmed Efendi, the translator of the text, was a prolific author and lexicographer. This translation was used for many years in teaching Arabic in the Ottoman educational institutions. The ownership here, inscriptions and the stamps of 7 owners on the left folio underscore the popularity of this dictionary. And here, actually, another Turkish item. This one is a book of common Turkish words and daily expressions, accompanied by English translations and notes on pronunciation. On the left is an octagonal. Can you see it here? Okay, let me show it here. Book stamp and autograph of Thomas Dawson, a minor clerk in the town of Greystoke in Cumberland, England. And on the top line of each here, you can see a page. You can see an unidentified reader practicing writing words in Turkish. This diversity extends to the topics and themes, which includes a wide range from the Quran, faith, mysticism, history, literature, and music, to philosophy, politics and ethics, science and medicine, everyday life, and the arts of the book. This variety helps visitors. This variety helps visitors acquire an introductory knowledge of intellectual and aesthetic themes in the Islamic world and introduces them to literary perspectives, major genres, figures, and artistic practices in different Muslim societies at different periods throughout Islamic history. No doubt, the invention of the printing press accelerated this conversation and exchange and contributed to the rapid growth and development of the intellectual world. Thus, we wanted to showcase some printed books as examples. Out of 144 items, 17 of them are printed items, including Avicenna's El Kanun fi El Tib, printed in Rome in 1593, a copy of the Quran printed in Hamburg in 1694, and the first printed edition of the Elements, which consists of Did I get lost again?
I think there was just a connection issue if you want to share your screen again.
I'm sorry, there's a road work, so probably that is causing the problem. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Uh, was it this? Okay. Sorry, everybody. Let me start with this one. I don't know where I got dropped, but then here, this is an anonymous geography and history of the discovery and exploration of the New World presented to Sultan Murad III, the Ottoman Sultan who ruled on the second half of the 16th century. It is illustrated with many maps and images. While deriving principally from Spanish and Italian sources, the cosmography that introduces the work relies on medieval Arabic and Persian authors. The image depicted on the left-hand page is the wak-wak tree with women as fruit. I think it's quite famous. Printed by Müteferrika Printing House, this is only the fourth book printed in the Arabic alphabet in the Ottoman Empire in Istanbul in 1729 or 1730. As I mentioned in the beginning, thematically, the exhibit showcases different genres. And now I'd like to share some examples that I have chosen for our audience today. Let's start with the Sharia. The Quran, the holy book of Islam and prophetic practice, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, formulate the Sharia, which is often translated as Islamic law into English. A couple of copies of the Quran are on display if you have a chance to visit the exhibit. Here, what you see are two tiny volumes, two of an original 7 from the 17th century. They represent divisions of the Quran into 7 equal parts as an encouragement to the Muslims actually to read the full Quran in 1 week. The volume on the left is the second, like each volume is called, each portion is called Menzil. The volume on the left is the second Menzil containing chapters 5 through 9. And the one on the right is the sixth Menzil containing chapters 37 through 49. In the exhibit, visitors also can see the major authenticated, authoritative, and canonical hadith collections, namely a 15th century copy of Sahih of Muslim and a 16th century copy of Jami al-Sahih of al-Bukhari. Faith is at the center of Muslim life, as everyone can imagine, and regular daily ritual prayers and supplications are an essential part of formal worship and daily routine. Therefore, Muslim writers have prepared various collections bringing together invocations, names of God, and selected verses from the Quran. These collections are typically recited in the original Arabic, and the Delail al-Khairat, Guide to Blessings, is one of these devotional prayer books used by Sunni Muslims. It almost always includes a pair of images of the Prophet's tomb. Because of its popularity within the Islamic world, one can see the differing artistic styles and aesthetic preferences across different regions and time periods through the Delail manuscripts. The Beinecke has more than 60 copies of the Delail. I think I counted like 66 from all over the Islamic world. And here you can see two of them clearly exhibiting different artistic tastes. One is Moroccan on the left, and the other one is an Ottoman Delail from different perspectives. One from the inside, and the other is a bird's eye view of the mosque at Medina and Mecca. Spirituality extended actually beyond prayer books and religious obligations. Some people turn Sufi masters, some Muslims turn Sufi masters for guidance on the mystical path to the divine. This has created a very rich mystic culture, Sufi culture, and practices. Here is a poetry collection by an Ottoman Sufi poet, Sakib, a 16th century master of the Mevlevi Sufi order, founded by Jalaluddin Rumi, who is one of the major Sufi figures in Islamic tradition. And Sakib's poetry collection is one of the best representatives of Ottoman mystical poetry, influenced by Rumi's teaching and literary legacy. This copy of his voluminous divan includes a two-folio illustration of Rumi's whirling dervishes, which is rare in an Ottoman poetry collection. We don't see it often. In this exhibit, we also wanted to demonstrate how some Muslims understood or attempt to understand the unseen world. The Quran acknowledges, magic and a realm of the unseen, which is, al-ghaib in Arabic, or the home of jinns, demons, and angels. This one here you see is a compilation of prayers and spells. It is tiny enough to be pinned to clothing and worn on the body as an amulet. It includes prayers and spells to cure, let's say, your headache, or tongue tie your enemy, as well as the seals of Ali, the prophets Muhammad, Joseph, and Solomon to boost the book's amuletic power. Another one here. This is a scrolled amulet on snake skin, possibly, with silver case. It is composed of protective verses selected from different Quranic chapters, which are followed by a prayer for help from God and Imam Ali, with a magic square at the very end. The other subject covered in the exhibit is philosophy. During the Umayyad and the Abbasid caliphates, texts from many languages, including philosophical works from ancient Greek, ethical and political texts from Middle Persian, were translated into Arabic. But of course, Muslim thinkers reshaped these works and reconciled these new intellectual ideas with the teachings of the Quran. And what you see here is a 13th century compilation of 7 philosophical and Sufi works in Persian and Arabic. It includes both Al-Ghazali's and Avicenna's versions of the Epistle of the Bird, an allegorical work on the soul's quest for unity with the divine, short treatises on Sufism by Al-Suhrawardi, a 12th century Persian philosopher, a unique text on the immortality of the soul by the 13th century Jewish philosopher Ibn Kamuna from Baghdad, and two unique works on the thingness of the non-existent by the Shiite philosopher Ibn Hamza. Muslim scholars produced a vast scientific legacy in fields such as medicine, zoology, and anatomy, and they built an ancient traditions. For example, Hippocrates and Galen's works were translated into Arabic, and then Muslim scholars developed these ideas further. The Canon of Medicine of Ibn Sina or Avicenna became a standard medical reference work from the time that was composed from the 11th century to the early modern era. This is a common knowledge, right? And we have a 16th century printed copy of Avicenna's canon in the exhibit, if you have a chance to see. But I wanted to share with you today, especially these two texts. This is the Herbaria, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't have Italian. Nova, a highly popular Italian herbal, first published in 1585. It was reprinted in Italian and translated into several other languages. It presents drawings and poetic descriptions of medicinal plants from Europe and the Indies. On the right is the Turkish translation of this Italian text. It is arranged alphabetically according to the order in the Italian text and provided the Arabic, Turkish, and Italian names for each plant. Each text here actually depict the ash plant and earth smoke, a plant in the poppy family, along with the types of ailments that can be used to treat. I'm actually very proud of a student I had in 2019 who discovered she was working on this, Ottoman Turkish text, and she discovered the Italian text in the Beinecke and compared and presented us that actually we have two copies actually here in the Beinecke, and her name is Fatosh Karadeniz. I thank her again for her hard work. Astronomy was also a significant scientific practice for Muslims due to the importance of the lunar Islamic calendar in regard to the beginning and endings of the months. This importance also applies to daily prayer timing calculations. Here's a decorative Ottoman calendar scroll which covers the years 1792, 1793, and includes tables of daily Muslim prayer times for each month of both the solar and lunar year, the length of day and night, times when the sun is in the direction of Mecca. And likewise, here actually, this is an 18th century Persian astrolabe, which was used to calculate time of day, altitude of celestial objects, and position or direction on the earth. Excuse me. With the expansion of the Islamic faith, geographical knowledge also became essential. In the exhibit, we have two maps printed by the Müteferrika printing house, the map of the Persian Empire and the map of the Black Sea. Here, actually, just like a side note, the new printing technology from Germany had been used by religious minorities in the Ottoman Empire since the late 15th century, but official Ottoman printing began in 1729 1730 with Ibrahim Müteferrika, a Hungarian born Unitarian. Before the printing press, among Müteferrika workshop's first publications were maps, a map of the Sea of Marmara in 1719 to be presented to the Grand Vizier at the time, then a large-scale map of the Black Sea here actually in 1724, 1725, and the map of Persia or Iran here that you see, and these were the first maps printed in the Islamic world. Yale's copy of the map of Persia is the only known copy in the United States, and the map of the Black Sea is one of the only 6 surviving copies. In the 19th century, Muslim writers began compiling comprehensive works that brought together information on a range of subjects in a single volume. In the 10th century, general encyclopedias, began to be penned, touching on almost every topic. What we have here is actually on the right, a copy of Al-Kazvini's 13th century encyclopedic work Ajaib al-Mahlukat, The Wonders of Creation, which includes natural history, geography, and cosmography. Al-Kazvini was a judge, a geographer, and natural historian, also known for his encyclopedic knowledge. He spent most of his life in present-day Iran and Iraq. And his Ajaib al-Mahlukat is considered the most famous Islamic cosmography and one of the most popular books in the Islamic world. It is about plants, trees, animals, humans, demons, giants, birds, reptiles, minerals, and the strange things of the seas and lands. This copy here is replete with copious miniature paintings throughout, and the illustration depicts the seven sleepers called the companions of the cave in the Quran, and a dog named Qitmir who guarded the entrance of the cave for them. This is also a late Christian and Islamic story which affirms the resurrection of the dead. The second item on the left is a fine 18th century manuscript copy of the Marifetname, the Book of Gnosis, one of the most well-known and widely read texts in Ottoman Anatolia. It's a scholarly encyclopedia which covers a wide range of topics from astronomy, physiology, mathematics, biology, geometry to faith, mysticism, and social, moral, and religious sciences. It is adorned throughout with gold and polychrome decorations, and its folios are finely illuminated with provides an abstract map of the celestial world, including heaven and hell. The copy we have was produced in 1790, only 10 years after the death of the author, Ibrahim Hakkı Erzurumi, who died in 1780. While many copies of the text are from the 19th century, the Beinecke copy stands out as one of the few copies from the 18th century, and this is one of the 5 known copies in American institutions. In the exhibition, visitors will also find Islamic historical writing, including the records of conquest, as well as city, regional, and dynastic histories. Al-Tabari was a scholar, well-known scholar, who is well-known for his history of prophets and kings, a universal history from creation through the mid-9th century. And then it became a foundational source for later historians. This copy that you will see actually in the exhibit, one of the oldest known copies of an abridgment of the history of prophets and kings. On the right is a historical account describing the landmark buildings of Constantinople, such as Hagia Sophia, along with legends and stories about them. Historical information was also recorded in many collective biographies of scholars, Sufis, poets, and others. Visitors will be able to see such texts in the exhibit as well. For example, one of them is a text dedicated to the life story of Hatice, the first wife of the Prophet Muhammad. It's a very interesting text providing the biography of a female figure, like a full text. Historical figures appear not only in historical texts, but also in literature, and this intersection is seen especially in the epic genre. Inspired by historical events, the stories of prominent heroic figures from the Islamic past frequently were turned into epic poems over the centuries. On the left is a literary masterpiece of Persian and world literature, the famous Shahnameh. Shahnameh is the longest epic poem with some 60,000 couplets by a single author, Firdevsi, dedicated to the history of Persia from the creation of the world up to the Islamic conquest in the 7th century. It was so popular that its illustrated and illuminated copies were often presented as gifts among the loyal and people among court members. For example, we have like Shahnameh reciters actually who memorize the whole text and then they narrate the story by heart, or like there were storytellers who were just wandering around, like visiting different regions and telling the stories from the selected anecdotes from the Shahnameh. So it was not only for the royal, actually also for common people. It was very popular and loved and appreciated. The text was tremendously popular among the Ottomans as well, and even Persian Turkish dictionaries were prepared to explain difficult Persian words in the text. For the curious readers, the illustration depicts the fire ordeal of Prince Siavush, proving his innocence following the false accusation of his stepmother Sudaba. And on the right, we have the Iskandername, the Book of Alexander, a romance dedicated to the historical and legendary stories of Alexander the Great. The copy here was dedicated to Prince Süleyman Çelebi, who died in the beginning of the 15th century, like in 1411. This text is the first Alexander romance known in Turkish literature and the oldest Turkish manuscript in Yale's collection. This is not only an epic, but also a history of the early Islamic and Ottoman world, as well as encyclopedic in its coverage of philosophy, politics, ethics, and astronomy and medicine. These two major epics were penned in verse, reflecting the significance of poetry in Islamic literature. While prose was also practiced, poetry has always been a prestige genre. One comes across verse in every other genre and form of writing, from religious texts, philosophical treatises, political manuals, to medical references, and even to dictionaries. The most famous poetic work produced in the Islamic world is perhaps the Masnavi, a lengthy poem of 26,000 couplets by Rumi on the left. It is considered one of the most important and famous spiritual poems in world literature. It has been widely read and influential throughout ages. It is said that even in the United States, it is the most commonly read, widely read poetry piece or poem. It is often cited that the scholar and poet Jami from the 15th century said Rumi is not a prophet, but he has a book, which is quite impressive. On the right is the Khamse, which is also known as Panj Genj, Five Treasures, by Nizami of Genge, the master of romantic epics. It is composed of 5 lengthy romances in verse, including the Book of Alexander. Of course, people were not only reading and writing, they had hobbies, business, and of course they had friends and families with whom they enjoyed their pastimes and hobbies. Here we have an example of playing cards. They are little, tiny, very cute items. I hope you have a chance to come and see. Finally, the last theme is art of the book. Next Monday, our colleague and co-curator of the exhibit, Dr. Agnieszka of the Beinecke, will talk about the arts of book in Islamic tradition as part of our Mondays at Beinecke series. That I won't say too much about this topic, but I do want to share two dazzling Ottoman items. Just to mention this theme before we finish. The one on the right is an Elifba Cüzü, alphabet book. It exquisitely exemplifies the evolution and changes in Ottoman manuscript culture. It is the work of Mehmet Şefik Bey, a prominent 19th century calligrapher. It was most likely intended to be a gift for a young Ottoman noble just beginning to learn to read. On the left is a collection of poems by Halim Gray, Sultan, the son of one of the last Crimean Khans. Focusing on elegance and intricate details, these lavishly gilded opening pages vividly represent the influence of the Rococo style on the Ottoman book arts. Thank you for your kind attention and patience. For some reason, I got too excited. I hope you were able to follow me. Thank you.